And then separate from the breaks at bones, I actually unexpectedly that same summer when I had the healing of my hand, found out I had testicular cancer. So
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
obviously health is now obviously through my experiences, health is the most important thing, number one. And
All right, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of Let's Move Canada. We're your hosts, Dana and Luigi from the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute. And on today's episode of Let's Move Canada, we will talk with professional basketball player and mentor Danilo Djuricic about what inspires him and what being healthy means to him. Now, before we introduce Danilo, let me start by saying that this podcast is brought to you by the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute, whose mission is to make Canada the fittest nation on earth by 2030. And to this end, of course, our podcast aims to raise awareness about physical and mental health. And now, let me introduce Danilo. So, Danilo is a standout Canadian basketball player making waves on and off the court. Now, from his early days dominating high school basketball at St. Michael's College to playing for Harvard University, and now showcasing his talent in the Canadian Elite Basketball League with the Scarborough Shooting Stars, Danilo has proven himself as a force in Canadian basketball. Not only has he shined on a professional level, but he's also repped the red and white on the international stage, helping Canada bring home gold in the 2017 FIBA U19 World Cup. Today, Danilo is here to share his journey. What's it like to play for your country? The lessons that he's learned, the ups and downs, being part of the elite sports, and what's motivating him to move forward. So, Danilo, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so happy that you're here.
thanks, Luigi and Dana. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Excited to talk on Let's Move Canada and continue to inspire living healthy in Canada, right? So looking forward to the discussion.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Yes, welcome. Welcome. So, our first question is always, where did you grow up and was physical activity a big part of your childhood?
So to answer that second part, absolutely. Huge part of my upbringing. I grew up in Brampton, Ontario, so huge hotbed for basketball specifically, but I actually began my physical kind of fitness journey as a young kid playing soccer, right? I think health
Oh,
league soccer and then eventually getting into the rep programs in soccer. Everyone played Timbits growing up, right? Timbits soccer.
Oh
So that was
yeah.
kind
Oh yeah. I thought
of
that was the cutest
exactly.
name ever.
Right, yeah, and everyone looks cute. We're rocking their different color Timbits jerseys, right? So,
hmm
started playing sports in the Timbit League, and then began to play for Brampton East Soccer Club, which was a rep soccer club in Brampton.
mhm.
And then as I started to, I guess, grow physically, I was pretty tall compared to the rest of the kids, and that's where I was recommended to try basketball. So that was kind of like the beginning of my sports journey. But, growing up, I had two kids on my street, separate from my brother and I, and we actually kind of spent all of our time outside together in the summers, especially. We had a basketball net in our driveway, and we were just out playing, shooting hoops for hours on end, especially in the summer till the streetlights came on, right? And that's how you knew it was kind
hmm
of time to almost go inside and rewind and then go for the next day as well, right? But loved being outside, loved doing anything sports related, physical activity, and staying active. So yeah.
Did your
No.
parents really encourage that, or did you just do it all on your own, or how'd that work?
Mhm.
They definitely encouraged it. They would rather us be outside instead of playing video games, my brother and I.
Mm.
We're both very competitive. My brother played sports as well, both at the college level and then briefly at the pro level in soccer. I played professional basketball, so we've always been competitive. Whether it was going to the park and playing on the swings when we were really young, and then eventually being introduced to sports like soccer and basketball, we were always encouraged by our parents to be outside, be active, be healthy, and stay off of the video games and go be
hmm
productive. Right?
That sounds fun. It's funny because one of the things that you just said is, you were pretty tall so early on, and basketball was the direction that you went. Now, I was also taller than my peers, and I was pushed towards the basketball route, but it never picked up for me. So I'm curious to know why basketball? What inspired you? Why basketball, right? Like, why not any other sport, right? I get the competitiveness, I get the competitive nature. I like that, you like being outside, but why basketball? What about it drives you?
It was, well, great question. I actually just fell in love with the game, separate from the height. I think it was just me being able to work on a game that I was really driven to always get in the gym and do. And something about the sound of a basketball bouncing and the sound of a basketball making a swish. Like I started to become, very driven to being the best player I could be. And, I loved going to practices and just striving to be a really talented basketball player. Obviously, growing up, being from Brampton, when I was really young, I played on the Brampton Warriors rep team, and then
Mhm.
eventually went to go play for CIA Bounce, which was home to a lot of NBA talent that was older than me, right? Dylan Brooks and Andrew Wiggins, Anthony Bennett, all these top NBA players were playing in my
Very
program
cool.
when I was really young. So I had people to look up to and try to aspire to be. And I didn't quite reach the NBA, but I've played, in Europe and here in Canada, like you mentioned, in the CEBL. So guys like that kind of just inspired me to try and work on my skills to be at their level too. So.
So when
Uh,
was the point that you were like, okay, I'm going to be a professional basketball. I'm not just playing basketball, in high school and everything. It's like I'm going to go to college. I'm going to be a professional basketball player.
Great question. I was dunking in summer of seventh grade, I think. I was like
What?
I think I was 6'4" in seventh
wow.
grade. I was 6'6"
Oh,
in grade eight.
you were
Oh.
6'4" in seventh grade?
Seventh grade.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh.
I was a really tall kid. I used to have really, really long hair. So my nickname was Baby Jesus. And yeah, so I was known for being the really, really tall kid with the long hair, right? So I didn't know necessarily how good I could have been in basketball up until I maybe reached, the high school level. I was playing varsity when I was in grade 9, and I was starting on the varsity team playing with grade 11s and 12s. And that's when I started to receive some college interests and offers. So
Mm,
at that point, I realized that, there could be something for me in basketball, at least to have my education paid for, go to a school, not have any, student debt, help my parents out, not having to pay for school. And then from there, as I continue to get a little bit older, I wanted to play professionally, obviously, as the national team started knocking on my door and having those experiences, right? So it kind of drove me to, continue
hmm
pushing a
Motivating, right? It really
right.
pushes you
Yes,
to,
sir.
exciting.
Absolutely.
It's exciting and motivating. And
Absolutely.
and you chose Harvard.
Yes. It was
So
I
yeah,
looked at it
tell us about that.
almost, yeah, so sorry. I was just my decision with Harvard, I chose it as a 40-year decision as opposed to just being a 4-year decision.
Mhm.
Everyone knows the name Harvard. So
Mm-hmm.
my parents growing up, obviously they loved us being competitive in sports, but their main kind of preaching to us was, education comes first.
Mhm.
You'll have your education long after sports are done. Obviously, you can still stay fit and active and healthy, but aim
Hmm.
to lock down the education portion and set myself up for future success. So that's why I ended up
Hmm.
choosing.
Smart parents. Good
Yeah,
advice.
Really,
definitely.
really cool. Could you tell us about what playing for the team at Harvard was like? Like, well, how, like, in terms of balancing your schedules and with your studies and practice, nutrition, right? Like, how was all of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Harvard's one of the most, or if not the most, prestigious school in the world with tons and tons of, resources and the smartest people possible as their, doctors, their nutritionists, their staff. So I was lucky to be at a school with such amazing kind of resources that I could go and take advantage of.
Hmm.
They provided opportunities for athletes on campus to, book appointments with nutritionists, and it was all covered and free. And, you could really lock in on your diet and taking care of your body in the most, in the best way possible, right? So we had strength coaches, we had doctors, nutritionists, everything available, to our advantage to use as our resources. Yeah, I mean, basketball was obviously incredible. Balancing it as, a student athlete at Harvard is tough. I had
Mhm.
great inspiration through St. Mike's. St. Mike's is a really prestigious high school here in Canada in downtown Toronto. So
Mhm.
really showed me the ropes in terms of balancing both at a really, really high level. So when I
Hmm.
went to Harvard, actually, it was a lot. I think it was a lot easier for me. So I say that because I would commute one way from Brampton to downtown Toronto to St. Mike's, an hour and a half. So,
Whoa.
in a whole day, I would kind of save 3 hours, right? So I could roll out of
Oh,
bed
wow.
at Harvard and walk to school 5 minutes, and I'll have that extra 2 hours and 55 minutes to work on my schoolwork after instead of
Mm.
having to come home and just do my homework, eat, shower, and then go and do the next thing all over again, right? I had a little bit of extra time at Harvard, which helped me a lot.
Hmm.
Got it, got it.
Oh yeah.
And so what were some of the other challenges, I mean, other challenges you were facing in terms of like your basketball career? You've talked, while being at Harvard, what balancing your schedule was like, but as you transitioned a little bit further into your basketball career, what were some of the challenges that you were facing?
Great question. And I've had a very, very unorthodox professional basketball career. My last, year and a quarter at Harvard was affected by COVID. Harvard and the Ivy League in general was the only league in Division I basketball that decided to opt out of their season. So I didn't
The
have a
only
senior
one?
year, only league. So eight
Uh,
schools out
uh,
of
whoa.
360. Yeah.
So,
So
Oh wow.
I was I was at home on the couch watching a lot of my friends and former teammates
Mm,
playing for their respective schools, which was very tough mentally and especially physically, obviously not being able to go and
mhm,
train and compete, and had to channel a lot of my energy towards schoolwork as opposed to, being in the gym, which was tough for me. It was a big change. And yeah, there was a lot of restricted access to gym through COVID as well, which kind
mhm,
of,
mhm.
put a little bit of a dent into my trajectory of my professional career. So that was one specific challenge. Another one being injuries. So in my second year playing professionally in the Czech Republic, I broke my hand. So I have a nice scar here. I have two plates in here and 14 screws. It
wow.
was like a weird accident during a game, and
What
obviously
happened?
injured.
What happened? What was the accident?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually blocked a shot, and the follow through of the guy's hand come as my hand was coming up to go and catch the ball, it just perfectly
Oh,
aligned and
Wow.
shattered my hand. So it was really weird.
really? Oh
Yes.
my
And
gosh.
and
Crazy fact.
injuries happen, right? But definitely sucks not being able to be active and really go out there and start to continue to build on my professional career. It was the last game
Okay, so
actually.
I gotta ask you, because
Yeah.
I'm a pianist,
Okay.
and that's what I've done my whole life.
Yep.
And when I was like 26,
Mhm.
I had a total freak accident, ended up having hand surgery.
Wow.
So what happened was like I went to grab a glass out of the cupboard and I hit my elbow on something and the glass shattered in my hand and cut two tendons in my hand.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to have them sewed back together. And the doctor said, "Yeah, you're never gonna play piano again." And I was like, I literally don't know how to do anything else. So how did you feel? Like, did you think you would never play again? Ever did that cross your mind or
Absolutely, right away, right? That's the biggest challenge of injuries. Like I'm sure
yeah,
with your hand and hearing that mentally is the biggest roadblock, right? You're like, what do I do
yeah,
now? And
Hmm.
yep,
a little bit of an identity questioning there. And luckily it was my left hand and not my right. But as you can see here, I
hmm
actually have a broken finger that
yes, me too, me too,
stuck
Wow.
like
yeah.
that. But I'm fine. I can play and everything now. It's just injuries are so weird, and right away you always think to the worst possible sort of scenario. But you
You do.
can't.
You think, oh, that's it, and then you're in like rehab, and did you have to do physio for a long time? How'd that
Yes.
look?
So actually, it was the timing sucked because it was the last game of my regular season in the Czech Republic. It was the first time my team that I was signed and playing for was first in the regular season. We were going into the playoffs, and we actually had a great chance at winning everything for the first time in like
Mm,
70 or something. So I broke my hand. We lost in the first round of playoffs. I wasn't there. I actually flew home, had surgery, but I had signed to play with the Scarborough Shooting Stars, right? So that kind of
hmm.
took a little chunk of my season away because I was, nursing my hand and getting back to full health, right? So it's always
Right.
frustrating being away, and definitely had to do a lot of rehab. I was out for 2 months just doing some
Wow.
physical therapy, strengthening my hand to the point where I could
Hmm.
go back to play again, right? So definitely
Right.
frustrating for
Yeah,
sure.
but you stuck with it and you kept going.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
good for
absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. And then separate from the breaks at bones, I actually unexpectedly that same summer when I had the healing of my hand, found out I had testicular cancer. So
Oh
in
my gosh.
Wow.
Spain, obviously, health is now, obviously, through my experiences, health is the most important thing, number one. And I'm very appreciative and grateful for all the little things in life. And I really take my health seriously. But yeah, definitely an unexpected turn of events. And it can happen to someone that's, a professional athlete, young and healthy. I had no clue
Mhm.
that at the age of 24, you could be diagnosed with testicular cancer.
Yeah.
So,
No, I
yeah,
mean,
And
okay, now we have to talk about this a little bit.
of
yeah,
course, of
for sure.
course.
Go ahead, Luigi.
Yeah. So yeah. So tell us a little bit more about that. Like, with the diagnosis, like how did you balance that going to the different treatments, and how did you transition back into, or how did you continue with playing basketball? So I'm very curious to know.
Great question. Obviously, hearing the C word, cancer, your mind, again,
Mm,
as we spoke to, just goes
Mhm.
to the worst possible results.
mhm.
I was lucky to kind of figure out that testicular cancer is the most curable cancer in men. It's actually most commonly diagnosed between the ages of 18 and 35. So that was
Oh,
new knowledge for me.
Really?
And
Wow, I
that's
did not
how,
know that at all.
yeah.
yeah. So I had no clue growing up in school. I don't remember that in health class at all. So I, am trying to be as active in terms of educating, especially young men, not to scare them, but just to make, them aware. My best friend actually was the one who made me aware of checking for
Mhm.
testicular cancer. He was my college roommate at Harvard, and now he's at Columbia Med School. So he's
Wow.
actually there trying to be an orthopedic surgeon, but they had a kind of unit where they were studying the male region, and just as best friends do, we jokingly kind of look out and try to support and love each other. And he made us aware in a lighthearted way about taking care of your body as a man and having to check for things like that, just as women
Mhm.
check for things such as
Mhm.
breast cancer. So I made it a common practice of mine once a month. And 8 months after that conversation, which actually happened while playing a video game, I ended up finding a lump of my own.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
luckily,
Wow.
not maybe he didn't save my life, so to say, but I give him a lot of credit in terms of making sure and making me aware of, health, especially and things that could come up. So he really did affect my life greatly, and I owe a lot to my friend PK.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Um,
crazy,
uh,
crazy sort of situation. And as a young man, you don't know necessarily what's next with cancer. I was a
right.
professional basketball player at the time, and that was a lot of my focus. And I actually ended up taking a year. I didn't go overseas the following year. My goal was obviously to come back and kind of overcome, a crazy diagnosis like that and be able to play professional basketball again, which I ended up doing this past summer with the Scarborough Shooting Stars. Grateful for them giving me an opportunity to play after not playing for a whole year, but staying in shape and ready after doing the necessary kind of procedures. So, was able to, check that off of a list of my own in terms of overcoming that obstacle and being able to play again. So, very happy about that.
No, for sure. Shout out to PK, and thank
Yeah,
you
for
for
real.
sharing that. This is such a vulnerable place, and it's really cool that you're sharing this story for people out there to check themselves, right? And to it's just a way of staying healthy as part of the journey. So I'm really happy to see you here, you're healthy,
Thank you.
you're moving along.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. That is like what a obstacle, what an obstacle to have to overcome. I mean, first the hand and then cancer diagnosis, like, oh my gosh, that would
Yeah,
have been mentally taxing
it was super. Yeah,
beyond, right?
absolutely. Absolutely. But,
Ugh,
I just stay positive, leaned on my support system, and then
Uh-huh.
I just tried to be as resilient as possible and push through. So that was kind of my recipe for overcoming that.
No, I love that. Love that positive
yeah, that is amazing.
support system. I love that, and that's something that Dana and I cover with a lot of guests, which is,
Mhm.
having a support, being part of a community is super important when it comes to mental health, even in skills as well. So, yeah, no, this is just great to hear. Really, really great
You
to
need
hear.
to write a book. Are you gonna write a book?
100%.
That's actually in future plans. Yes. I don't know
Yes.
if it's
Yeah,
Ah,
yet, but
awesome.
yeah, it's part of the plans for sure.
Okay. Let me know. Let us know when that book is written.
please.
I
Yeah,
will
that'd be so
definitely. I will
cool.
be in touch. Yeah, we'll do a follow-up podcast
Yes,
when
That
that's
would
out.
be wonderful.
that
That'd
would
be
be
great
amazing.
for sure.
Um, oh my gosh. Okay, so you're playing for the Scarborough Shooting Stars now, And what does that look like? How's like training schedule? Are you every day, I assume, to I don't know, 7 days a week? What does it look like?
Actually, with me, I'm currently at 5 to 6 days, more so 5 days a week. It's actually the off season for me. The Scarborough Shooting Stars season is between May and August.
Okay.
So end of May to mid-August. Actually, this year they're going to be extending the season a few games. So excited for the opportunity to play a little bit longer. So it'll go from end of May to end of August now. And yeah, I mean, it's a very long off season because it's a short season just in the summer. And it's kind of designed for players who are playing overseas to come in and play. So I'm in a unique
Mhm.
situation where I'm not really playing overseas currently, but I'm having to stay ready on my own for that time when training camp comes around and I'm in the CEBL again, right? So
Right.
uh, I'm obviously in the off season hoping to be back with the Scarborough Shooting Stars next summer. It's a team I want to continue to play for and represent.
Hmm.
But currently I'm lifting three times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then I'm on court Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, and Friday. So
Hmm.
actually kind of 5 days. And then the weekend,
Yeah.
I do a lot of coaching where I'm still involved with basketball, but I'm not training, so to say.
Right.
So my week is kind of based on a lot of training, and then the weekends are off, kind of resting, taking care of my body, eating properly, and things of that sort. So
And,
yeah.
and when you say coaching, are you coaching younger folks, or is it other people on the team, or
Yes. So yeah, coaching younger generations. I work with a youth basketball organization. I'm actually the director of Jump Through Hoops. So we use basketball as a conduit to teach, other life lessons. So it builds on the mentorship aspect that I'm very passionate about. And then I also coach in two other programs throughout the week and on the weekend too. So it's just, trying to give back to the younger generations. I have a passion of coaching and trying to impact the youth positively. So I've
Wow,
had some
that's
great,
that's great. Yeah,
fantastic?
that's so cool.
yeah,
So you play mostly around Ontario, is that right?
that's correct. In the CEBL, you're asking?
Yeah.
It's actually Canada wide. So we go
That's Canada wide.
all the way out
Okay.
to Vancouver, and then out east we go to Quebec, and Montreal is kind of the farthest out east currently. I know they're looking to
Hmm.
expand in the future, but it's a Canada
Okay,
wide league.
well, Luigi's in Ontario, so he needs to go watch your game.
It's your first time.
Luigi, man, let me
I'm
know.
right
I
next
got
door.
you some
Right
tickets
next
in the
door.
summer.
Thank you. Right next door. I'm actually in downtown Toronto, so
Okay, nice. Not
right,
too far.
really close by. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, sure. So there are two questions that I'm thinking. So two-parter. One, curious to know how what your nutrition and diet looks like today, considering your journey with everything, and how are you passing that on to mentorship? And actually, how long have you been doing mentorship for?
So I actually began mentoring while I was playing overseas,
Okay,
working with this youth development organization for the past, actually, it's about to be 5 years since 2020.
really cool.
But it started almost like in a role of just a volunteer to doing a little bit of coaching. Then I was away overseas playing basketball, so it was more of like a remote mentorship. I would hop on a call with some young student athletes and kind of just talk, about their plans and if there's anything I could help them with. But now I've kind of transitioned into, while I was overseas, I had so much time separate from practices. I built my own material, so
Mhm.
it's like mentorship to prepare young student athletes for when they stop playing basketball. So teaching them skills on like how to build a LinkedIn, how to properly network and send emails, and
Really cool.
just things of that sort. So that's what I've tried to incorporate in my
Hmm.
mentorship. But from a nutrition aspect, it's kind of funny. I'm dating a nutritionist. My
Nice.
girlfriend's a nutritionist. She got her degree from Cornell. So she's been huge in terms of obviously helping me eat healthy. I've started to look at nutritional facts. I never looked at that before. She's
Yeah.
got me off of eating a lot of sugar. I don't do that anymore. So she's really helped me with my healthy habits and lifestyle changes in terms of
Mhm.
eating properly for sure.
Oh, and does she cook too? I bet she cooks
She does, yeah. And
good
she's
food. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's
Uh,
great.
oh,
I'm
wonderful.
all about the home cooking, so
No, me too.
That's
Me
great.
too. I
Yeah.
think it's the best way to know exactly what's going into your meals.
Mhm.
Hard
100%.
sometimes when you don't know what's being thrown in and all the extra sugars or different processed things are being put in. But when you're at home and you're making it yourself, it's a great way to kind of measure yourself, what you're putting in and know what you're eating, right? So definitely,
It's so true. And so my husband is he loves the soup, and it's like a tortilla soup. It's like kind of thick, and it's definitely like not the healthiest thing you could be eating. Okay, but he loves it. So I found like a copycat recipe online, and it's like the healthy version. And you can go online and find like the copycat
Yes.
version of it that's like a lot healthier, right?
yeah.
So I was like talking to some people about this because they were like, oh, but making food at home is just like boring, or like I want this certain dish, and I'm like, okay, but you can go online and find basically any copycat
Yeah.
recipe for like
100%.
whatever fast food craving you have, whether it's chicken nuggets, like, right? Like Big Macs. There's a
Yeah.
girl on Instagram that will do like healthy versions of Big Macs.
Wow. So wait,
Yeah,
did your husband like the soup? Did it compare to the
he
taste?
loves it. He says it was better.
Really?
Wow.
There
He
you
said it
go.
was better.
Love that.
Yeah.
See,
Such a
that's awesome.
compliment too.
And it's healthier too, which is great.
It,
So
right.
those recipes and people who put that online, it's amazing. I mean, it's great that you can kind of go on there and get the same sort of taste craving that you're having, but have it in a healthier way. So those people,
Exactly.
that's
It's
real
yes.
MVP, real
It's like a,
MVP. Sure.
a revol it's not like a food revolution, but you know what I mean? It's like you can have those cravings and just, a little bit of work, right?
Yep.
And it's also like the price, because people don't, and they're like, oh, fast food, it adds up. You're gonna be eating
It
fast
does.
food. It adds up quick when you can buy all those ingredients and make, uh, you know, 10 portions of the same
Right.
thing,
Last year
Exactly.
for a couple
right?
of first days. Yeah.
We had a
100%.
nutritionist on. Actually, I think that was our second ever podcast. And she was
Mhm.
explaining like how much more expensive it is to buy your food out rather than making it,
Yeah.
right? And it because how much you can make, and basically, and the cost also matters of like your health, right?
Yes.
Because you're investing in your health over time. If you eat this along, for 10 years, or you eat the other thing for 10 years, you're going to notice that.
Right. So
So,
actually, I saw a quote today that touches on exactly what you just said. And it's funny because I was thinking about this. I said, I got to use this on the podcast. It's literally that your older self is counting on you. And you can use that in a different way
mhm.
too, where your
Mhm.
future family, your future partner, whatever it is, right? If you the way you take care of yourself now will help you 10 years down the line, like you just mentioned, or beyond, right? You want to try and be here as long as possible and share the best
Mhm.
memories with people that are here that love you, right? So
It's
that's
so
the way
true.
I've been looking at it, and I thought that quote was amazing. So that's been sticking with me all day today. So
That
That
is,
is,
that is
yeah.
cool. Thank you for sharing that. That actually is doing wonders for me at this very moment. So thank you. It's definitely,
for sure,
hopefully it's doing the same for our listeners out there.
100%. That would be great. Yeah, for sure. Take that, steal that from me. I found it online and I stole it, so I don't know who to give credit to, but
We're gonna put it on a t-shirt
yeah,
Right.
and wear it on the podcast.
there you go.
For sure. And so now moving a little bit away from basketball and mentoring, if we can, right?
Yeah.
Very curious to know if you have any hobbies outside of basketball and mentoring.
Great question. Outside of basketball and mentoring, I love hanging out with family and friends. My girlfriend's family is in upstate New York, so we head there quite a bunch. It's close enough to Toronto, where it's about a 3 hour
Mhm.
drive.
Mhm.
So love being out there, especially in the summers. They got like a nice lake out there, Rushford Lake. We'll spend some time on the boat and swim and do things of that nature. And I love that, the outdoors especially. So I guess kind of plays in with being active, being outside
Mhm.
all the time. Obviously sports, separate from basketball, I love playing tennis, watching and playing soccer. Those are probably my top three sports. What else? Definitely have a passion for entrepreneurship. So
Mm.
building businesses, kind of educating myself on some different skills that can help me for, my transition out of sport. Um, yeah, so I'm currently doing some things, kind of preparing for the finance world, some
Oh,
certifications
I was
on.
gonna ask, like, what's your plan
Yeah.
after sport?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great question. I have a bunch of different ideas in my head, and I'm trying to do all of them at one time, which is kind of difficult. But definitely looking to stay involved with basketball in some capacity, whether that's coaching or just being around and being able to impact and give back to the youth and try and help the next generation. But I'm doing the Canadian Securities course currently. My mentor is on Bay Street. She's been in financial management for 26 plus years now. So
Wow.
she's kind of taking me under her wing and kind of showing me the whole, finance as a whole in terms of the industry here in Canada specifically. So
Mhm.
looking at potentially work in that space in the next couple of months. And yeah, so I've got a couple things on the move, but haven't really kind of narrowed it down to one thing. So
Yeah,
So,
exciting.
thank you.
and of course, you
Uh,
can find things on your website. Sorry, Dana. You can find
no,
some of
no, no, go
these on
ahead.
your website, right?
Yeah,
Or is
absolutely.
that like, can you tell us what your website is about?
Yeah, so my website is there's a little bit about learning about who I am. I provide some mentorship services in terms of helping young student athletes prepare for life after sport.
Uh-huh.
Um, it also directs to Jump Through Hoops, the youth basketball organization that I help lead, and also just has some different ways to get in touch with me if needed, right? So you can find that all on my website. It's my first name, last name.com.
Yeah, no, no worries. Awesome. This is great. And I'll be sharing these things towards the end as well as in the description box. So yeah,
Awesome.
our viewers will definitely have that information.
Awesome. Perfect.
All right, so we have our last question for you. Um, what is one thing that Canada could focus on more when it comes to health and fitness?
Great question. That's a tough one too, right? I think
It's tough, yeah.
there's many things. Um, but I think I'm going to go with almost like the quote that Luigi and I love, right? So it's counting on your older self counting on you. So right now it's taking care of yourself. And I think I'll say, look at the food that you're consuming, right? So if you
Hmm.
could try and eat foods that are as healthy as possible, and really focus on your intake and not eating out as much as possible and really staying away from things that are unhealthy. I think that does wonders for you long term. My girlfriend, she's obviously a nutritionist and she tells me it's 80/20, 80% about the food
Hmm.
that you're putting in your body and 20% about, the workouts and staying active and fit that you're doing, right? So that's a huge kind of like
Oh, wow. 80,
weighted
20.
weighted
Pretty big.
shift. She says it's
Oh, yeah,
80/20.
that's big.
I think honestly, I've seen a huge difference in terms of like even from when I've started dating her, like she's really
Hmm.
helped me in terms of my healthy lifestyle changes and the way my body looks now compared to when I met her and I've been friends with her for a long time, but now since we've been, dating the last 6 months, like I've made a great change in terms of my
Mhm.
body. I've been working out the exact same amount, but I'm actually eating a lot better. And that's where I've seen a lot of the visual and felt a lot better too in terms of the feeling,
Mhm.
right? So in terms of Canada, looking to be healthier, I think everyone just committing to trying to eat healthy, live healthy, and take care of your body because, as Luigi and I both agree, your older self's counting on you, your older family, your future, family is counting on you, your future
Hmm.
partner, wife, husband, they're all counting on you to try and be here as long as possible with them.
Grandkids, everybody.
Grandkids.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I'll say for that for sure.
Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for
Absolutely.
sharing these words of wisdoms, your story, your challenges, your successes, and everything. We're so glad to have had you on this podcast.
Thank you. No, it was an honor to be here. Thank you both for inviting me and Let's Move Canada as a whole for allowing me to come on, share a little bit about my story, some insights. Thank you for the opportunity, and I hope the people got something out of it today.
No, I'm sure they will. And of course, I'm going to take this time to thank everyone for tuning into this episode. And of course, again, we're your hosts, Dana and Luigi. If you want to learn more about Danilo, please follow his Instagram at 3DaniloD. And I'm just going to spell that for you. It's at 3DANIL0D. Or you can just go on his website, which is Danilo Djuricic. So, which is, let's see, it's DANILO DJURICIC.com. Is that correct?
That's correct. Perfect.
Beautiful,
Spelling is
beautiful.
great.
Awesome, awesome. I was hoping some French was not going to come out of there. But Anyways, you can do that, or you can also check our Instagram at Let's Move Canada for latest updates, or you can head over to our website at chfi.fit to learn more about our mission. And don't hesitate to DM us if you're interested in being a guest on Let's Move Canada podcast, or if you have a suggestion on who could come next. Stay tuned for next episodes, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.